Action to Strategic Partnerships Introduction to the Call. This presentation is for strategic partnerships for school support and innovation. Key Action to Cooperation for Innovation is about enabling organizations to work together in order to improve their provision for learners and share innovative practices. Under Key Action 2, organizations can apply for funding to work in partnerships with organizations from other participating countries. Strategic partnerships aim to support the development, transfer, and/or implementation of innovative practices at organizational, local, regional, national, or European levels. In order to be considered for funding, strategic partnerships must address either at least one horizontal priority or at least one specific priority relevant to the field of education, training, and youth that is mostly impacted. You can now see on the screen the different priorities for school education. You will have to address one of these at least in order to be considered for funding. You can now see on the screen the main aims of strategic partnerships that support exchange of practices or support innovation. As you can see, strategic partnerships that support innovation want to develop innovative outputs, engage into intensive dissemination and exploitation of activities, and newly produced products or innovative ideas. It is possible to request budget for intellectual outputs and multiplier events for this type of project. These are the different program countries that can be part of a strategic partnership. You can also include partner countries into your proposal. However, you will need to justify the need for someone from a partner country participating. When forming your partnership, you will need to consider the eligibility that you must meet. In order to apply for Key Action 2 funding, you will need to have a minimum of 2 organizations from 3 different program countries. While there is no maximum number of participant organizations, the budget of project management and implementation is capped at 10 participants. The lead organization of the partnership needs to apply to the national agency in their country. All schools' applications will come to the national agency and particularly to the British Council as we manage these schools' projects. Once the lead has applied, all the other partners should not submit their bid to their own national agency for the same project. School education projects are multi-beneficiary grants. That means that we will award the funding to the lead and then they will distribute the budget between the different partners. They will be in charge of all coordination of the project. The lead will also be responsible for keeping partner organizations up to date with the progress of the project application. The application deadline is on Wednesday, 21st of March of 2018, and all applications must be submitted online by 11 a.m. UK time on the day of the deadline. Late applications will not be accepted. Different categories for budget for Key Action 2 schools supporting innovation partnerships are as follows. Project management and implementation funds will automatically be added to your grant total as it is calculated according to the length of your project. You can see on the screen the wide variety of activities it can be used for. Transnational project meeting funds can be applied for, although you need to justify the need for the meetings in terms of number of meetings and participants involved. Meetings should be limited where virtual cooperation is not sufficient. Intellectual outputs are activities requiring substantial staff input in order to produce tangible and significant outputs. They include publications, for example, academic papers, policy recommendations at different levels, need analysis, curriculum, course materials, methodologies, etc., etc. Separate funding can be requested to cover the production of such intellectual outputs. For more information about this, please check the program guide. Please note that it's only considering intellectual outputs if proven their potential for wider use and exploitation, as well as for impact. Intellectual output staff time is designed to cover the specific amount of time taken away from staff members' normal day jobs to work on the intellectual outputs. To be considered as staff for the development of intellectual outputs, the person have to be either on a professional or voluntary basis, included in education, training, or youth and non-formal learning, and may include professors, teachers, trainees, schools leaders, etc. In all cases, the beneficiary has to be able to demonstrate the formal link with the staff member concerned if requested to do so. Multiplier events are only available to projects producing intellectual outputs. The aim of a multiplier event is to share intellectual outputs to individuals and organizations outside of the Erasmus Plus project. Multiplier events should disseminate and increase the impact of intellectual outputs. Other dissemination activities will be supported by a project management and implementation fund. Multiplier events are events organized by the partnership, and they are directly associated to one or more of the intellectual outputs developed through the work of the project. Multiplier events should involve a large number of participants from organizations that are not already involved with the partnership itself. Such events can be organized at national or transnational level. Multiplier events, however, can only take place in the program countries in which the beneficiaries are located. Both the profile and number of participants will have to be justified, as well as the approach to attract and involve the relevant external organizations and stakeholders. These two categories are based on real costs. This means you can enter any amount into the box within the application form. Before doing so, it is however important to consider whether what you are applying for is eligible, has it been justified within the application, and does it demonstrate value for money. Special needs support can be requested. This is for additional costs directly related to participants with disabilities and their accompanying persons. This includes costs related to travel and subsistence, if justified, and as long as a grant for these participants has not been requested through budget categories, travel, and individual support. Special needs support cannot be claimed for after the application stage, so you must claim for it in the application if you think there is a high possibility it will be needed to support participants with disabilities. The awarding of exceptional costs is not a given. Clear and full justification must be given in the application. Exceptional costs are based on actual cost and must be supported by invoices and receipts of final report. You must clearly reference the sections of the form where justification is given. Before requesting exceptional costs, please check whether the cost cannot be covered under any other budget categories, most likely the project management and implementation budget. Exceptional costs can be requested only if they are critical to the success of the project and are services, goods, items that cannot be provided by the organizations involved in the project. Exceptional costs, if eligible, can provide up to a maximum of 75% of the real cost of services, goods, and items that would have to be subcontracted or procured by the project. Some examples of eligible exceptional costs, provided that sufficient justification is given, are, for example, the translation of intellectual outputs and other key materials, external evaluation of the project, equipment critical to the delivery and success of the project. However, examples of ineligible costs would be normal office equipment or equipment normally used by participating organizations. You must be clear on how the funding amount you are requesting has been calculated and that the amount represents 75% of the total cost of an item. Clear justification as to why the organization involved in the project cannot provide the services or goods must be given in the text box that will relate to exceptional costs. You must demonstrate that each exceptional cost represents value for money. You can also apply for learning, teaching, and training activities. This, however, needs to be justified and directly linked to the project objectives. These activities have a minimum and maximum duration that must be met. This duration does not include travel dates. When applying for funding, please ensure that you apply for the following categories for all participants, and these are travel and individual support. Learning, teaching, and training activities can be funded by a number of budget categories. Remembering that learning, teaching, and training activities are the things like short-term exchange of group of pupils or a short-term joint staff training event. For travel, you can apply for a contribution to the travel cost of participants, including accompanying persons from their place of origin to the venue of the activity and return. Please use a distance band calculator provided by the European Commission in order to calculate distance. For individual support, you can apply for a unit cost per day covering the subsistence of participants, including accompanying persons, during the activity. Individual support can be used to cover the accommodation and subsistence of participants while undertaking their mobility activity. If you plan long-term mobilities, you can apply for linguistic support funds. This is to help contribute to costs linked to the support offered to participants in order to improve the knowledge of the language of instruction or work. Please bear in mind that this is only available for activities lasting between 2 and 12 months. We are now going to give you a few tips for a quality application. We are aware that the forms are not available yet, and we will make them available as soon as we can. However, we would like to help you prepare to apply. First of all, you need to be aware of the quality criteria. This is outlined in pages 114 and 115 of the 2018 program guide. Please refer to this as you prepare your project. It's also important to bear in mind that to be considered for funding, an application must score at least 60 points overall and meet the minimum required score per criteria. Detailed scoring guidance will be published on the Erasmus Plus website, so please look out for that. Some of our top tips are that you should always choose your partners carefully. You will have to work with them for an extended period of time, and you will need to be able to guarantee that the project will be carried out successfully as a partnership. Please access the support and guidance that we provide, as we will try to help you as much as we can. Please refer back to the program guide for eligibility, quality, and budget rules. Make sure that your partners are aware of the requirements and the roles that they will have to carry out as part of the partnership. Include all key information in the application form, as you will need to demonstrate the value for money that your application poses to the European Union. You need to make sure that your project will be achievable. That means, can your organization release large numbers of staff at the same time, or should this be distributed in different activities? Or can you coordinate a project with 10 partners, or it might be better to do so with a smaller project? Start working on the partnership and narrative aspects early. These are the most time-consuming parts of the application, and you should try to work on them as soon as possible. We are now going to talk about some of the things that you need to do before you apply. Before you apply, you will need to register on the participant portal via the EU login, which was formerly known as ECAS. You will then obtain a unique reference code. This is the Participant Identification Code, also known as PIC. Please refer to the National Agency Guidance for Applicants as you complete your application, and contact our helpline for support if needed. Please make sure that your application is completed and submit before the deadline. You will also need to upload these two forms onto your PIC so we can check that the organization is who they say they are. We will need a financial identity form that you can download from our website, or when these slides are available from the slides. And you will need to do the same with the legal entity form. You can now see on the screen a list of the different documents that we will require to see when the application is received. The legal identity form, the financial identity form, and the partner mandates should be uploaded to the participant portal. The declaration of honor, however, will be attached to your application. On the screen you can see now a number of questions that you should ask yourself when applying, as the narrative questions that will be on the application should be similar to this. You will need to introduce your partnership, discuss your expertise, that of your partners, and how this expertise will meet the objectives that you've set out to do. You will need to also be able to describe the roles that each partner will take and how they will achieve their own objectives. You will need to provide a really detailed description of the project, as the assessors need to be able to judge the value for money that this project represents, the impact that it will have on the on your local area and that of your partners, and also at national and international levels. You will also need to describe the preparation and management of the project. Has any communication happened already? How has this happened? Do you have any plans to continue this? How will you do this? Do you have any sort of agreements in place, for example, dispute agreements, and any other steps that you have taken in order to ensure that the project will be carried out successfully? You will also need to be able to discuss the expected results and outputs and justify the need for them. You might want to carry a needs analysis, or you might want to discuss with your partners how you will do this. You will also need to be able to introduce the participants in a way that will be taking part. This means discussing the selection process, why they will be selected, so the selection criteria, and what you expect them to do. You will also need to justify the activities that you are applying for and how they will support your project and the expected outcomes. You will also need to discuss the expected impact of your project at local, national, and international levels in as much detail as possible. You should put together a dissemination plan and be able to discuss how you will share your project results once these have been achieved. And you will also be able to explain a follow-up plan to ensure that once the project has ended, the results will not disappear. We will now talk about impact and dissemination. Since the global economic crisis in 2008, public sector finances in member states across Europe have been under pressure. For this reason, the Erasmus Plus program has clear objectives and desired outcomes that you will need to demonstrate that your project will meet. So you will need to identify how your project will have an impact. You need to have clear and focused objectives with target groups for your project, and you will also need to consider how these target groups or anyone else that gets affected by your project will be changed. You would also need to consider how you will measure the impact. There's different types of impact. One can be a direct outcome, such as an approach to a model to solve a problem, or a practical tool or project, which are much more easily analyzed. However, you should also be able to analyze intangible results, such as improved cultural awareness. We recommend that you use questionnaires, self-assessment learning tools, or surveys with those participants to demonstrate that that has improved. The national agency has developed a number of resources to help you anticipate and assess the impact that your project will have. Please refer to this on our website in order to prepare for your application. You should also be prepared to disseminate. This is one of the most important aspects of your project, as you will need to ensure that the results of your project are available for everyone around the European Union. At this stage, there are 6 questions that you need to remember. Why? Why should you carry out this project? Why should you disseminate? Why should people be aware of your results? What you will disseminate? Some results might be better addressed at a group of pupils and another to a group of teachers. So you need to carefully consider who will be the target for the different dissemination activities. You will also need to consider how you will disseminate, for example, by using social media or the press. You will need to consider when you will do so, as you will probably benefit from waiting until the resource that you want to disseminate has been finalized. You will need to think of whom is going to be targeted and where. Is it going to be in all the countries in the partnership or just in some of them? At this stage, we would expect that there is a draft dissemination and exploitation plan and a definition of the expected impact and deliverables. There are other opportunities under Erasmus Plus that might help strengthen your application. For example, using the School Education Gateway may help you find partners that are interested in the same topics or the same areas that you want to work in. So you can see there's a tab for strategic partnerships where different ideas and partners are open for discussion. E-twinning sits within the Erasmus Plus program and offers the ideal stepping stone for first-timers to European activity. It offers a virtual staff room, a place to find partners, collaborate on projects, and to internationalize the classroom. It also offers a tool to allow partners to work together virtually and in a safe environment. Europass is a combination of 5 documents that make your skills and qualifications clearly and easily understood throughout Europe. Europass allows you to recognize the skills that have been gained through your project for those members of staff or students taking part. So, what should you do next? Once the forms are available, a video on how to complete the application form will be available on our YouTube channel and our website. Please keep an eye open for this, as it will support you when completing the form. Written guidance will also be published on our website, and it will aim to support you completing the application. You can always call or email us, and we will try to help you as much as possible. We are also offering one-to-one support calls to help you complete the application, to help you prepare the narrative aspects of it. As I mentioned before, the deadline for Key Action 2 schools is the 21st of March at 11 UK time. If you have any queries, you can get in touch by phoning this number on the screen or emailing either of these email addresses. And you can also find more information on our website, Twitter account, Facebook, YouTube channel, or by signing up to our newsletters where we share all updates. Thank you so much for listening, and please do get in touch if you have any questions.